Tell me, do elite athletes talk about these things? Because you're adrenaline-fueled, testosterone-fueled athletes that have got the life everybody else wants. Everyone's been a boy, right? People look and say, that's the life I want. Do you talk amongst yourselves about this, or is it not done?
I think when you have close friends within the sporting community, like, so Aaron Finch, for example, we talk about these sorts of things a lot. Pete Hanscom, Marcus Stoinis, these sorts of guys that I'm close with, I'll talk to them about this sort of stuff. But you still got to have that, I suppose, underlying friendship with these people that you can trust, and that you know that they're not going to, you know that they're going to have your best interest at heart all the time. And those guys have been really good for me, and just a couple of guys that I've always rested on, and am able to talk to whenever, and know that they'll pick up the phone whenever I call them.
The reason I mentioned this, I picked out a line from what Sandy Gordon said, and he said why it's so important to talk about it. He said the alternative to talking about it is always tending to something sinister. And in recent times, Robin Uthappa in India has come out and talked about how these sinister thoughts entered his mind. Luckily for you, you didn't go that far. But you always need a support system to pull you back, don't you? Robin talks about the woman in his life. I think there's a woman in your life who's pulling you back as well. Do sometimes we underrepresent the value of these support systems in elite sport?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's probably spoken about enough, the mental strain that it takes on a cricketer to be away from home for that amount of time, and with, I suppose, the unknown of what's going on around the world at the moment, and with players going to hubs, it could be up to even longer periods away from home, where you're having to spend 2 weeks quarantined in certain places, and that's going to take its toll on a lot of players, where they're not able to see beautiful countries that they're playing in. They're going to have to stay at hotels for a lot longer, and we might even see, I suppose, players not probably having a longer career, as long a career as we thought, knowing the strain it's going to take on their families, and being away from them for a longer period of time. But that mental anguish that players go through being away from home for a long period of time is certainly a bit understated when you first come into a squad, and it's something I probably only really saw the downside of it, I think, coming over the last few years, where I was away from home. I was missing my niece and nephews and my family, and spending that much time away from was really hard.
I won't labor this too long, but it obviously happens. We've now seen two high-quality players, Robin in the IPL and you around the world as well, come out openly and talk about it. Is there something you can recognize? Is there another young kid that's going through this? Can you look at that person and recognize it? Or what would you tell another young kid who's enjoying the game and suddenly goes through this phase?
It's not easy, because as I said, I carried the burden for a while. It wasn't like I came out as soon as I was struggling. I was holding on to it. I had no idea what was going on, and I couldn't really understand why I was feeling the way I did, why I was reacting to certain things the way I was, and it was so hard to put my hand up and say something was wrong, because I didn't want to leave my teammates high and dry. I knew I was back in the Australian team and I was still playing for my country, and it felt like I was letting them down if I was just putting my hand up and walking away. And there's so many other negative thoughts going through your head before you actually make that decision. But I suppose the important thing is having people around you that you can trust, and you can have these personal, private conversations, and know that they're going to have the best interest for you. And whether that be a close friend, a brother, sister, doesn't really matter. You've just got to have a network around you that at least one person who you can spill your emotions out to.